What's going on, guys? So we have a hopefully enjoyable video for you today. This is going to be interesting for those of you who, well, I guess those of you who care about something like this. A lot of you may not, but this is going to be pretty cool anyways. So what you were looking at in front of you are a few different things that are probably familiar and some may be less familiar. First of all, I have a crane style scale from Celoton. So these folks provided me this scale to be able to weigh things, right? I showed it on the other channel, basically weighing the front of trailers, and this thing is super cool, and this has a max of a 3,000 pound capacity. Next to it, you have two pieces of fishing line that are rigged up. Now these pieces of fishing line I purchased on Amazon. I was looking for line with the greatest test that I could find, and this specific line was supposed to be rated at like 600 pounds break strength. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see if this is actually going to be able to live up to anywhere near that, and we'll show you what we're going to do to test it here in a second. But when I got this in, my good buddy Mark said, hey, why don't you try one of the pieces of line that I like to rig up? So he brought one of his leaders over here that he rigs up, and he uses, he says it's some type of a material used in tugboat ropes and things like that. It looks kind of like a type of paracord, but certainly looks to be like some type of a nylon cord. Diameter-wise, it's actually a narrower or a smaller diameter than the fishing line. And again, this fishing line is supposed to be rated to 600 pound break strength. And he swears up and down that he thinks that that right there may be able to perform as well, if not better, than the fishing line. So what we're going to do today is we're going to have a little fun experiment here. We got the John Deere 50G mini excavator that I purchased a little earlier this year, and we are going to weigh some things, and I have some pretty heavy objects here I can use to weigh it. First of all, we're going to actually use the scale to see how much all this stuff actually weighs. This right here, this 36-inch digging bucket with the front butter bar that we attached to it, I think we scaled this one out at a little over 400 pounds, but we'll check it again. I got my 12-inch digging bucket here, and I also have my homemade, from a buddy of mine, a welding professional, a trenching bucket right here, which is only like 4 inches wide. But it's all made out of really thick plate steel. And this stuff is super heavy. I anticipate that bucket's going to be at least probably 175 to 200 pounds. This bucket right here, again, over 400. And that one right there is probably going to be maybe 75 pounds in that range. So we got the chain hooked up to the back here. We are going to first use the scale, and we're going to see how heavy the smaller buckets are, and then we'll remove this bucket. We'll put on my 12-inch bucket, which has a hook on the back of it right there, and then we'll weigh this bucket. But the first thing we want to do is weigh some of the smaller stuff using the Celoton crane scale right there. Okay, we're going to go ahead and turn on the scale right now. It's going to go through a little calibration, and currently no weight on it because the chains are slack. So we're gonna see if the way we've awkwardly rigged up this bucket is gonna allow us to lift it up, just to see how much this thing weighs. But then figuring out how we're gonna use the fishing line and the string to hold on to this is also gonna be an issue, but I think I have an idea. Okay, so the small micro bucket down here, 88 pounds, 87 to 88 pounds. So we're gonna see just how well the string can handle 88 pounds worth of weight. Okay, so now we have the nylon fishing line in place. By the way, Mark's the one that rigged these up, so hopefully we don't experience any type of failure at the crimp. Just to kind of show you his crimping. He blames it on me because I didn't have the proper crimping tools for this, but I don't know, we'll find out. Anyways, we have it looped around the bottom here. Nothing incredibly sharp, so hopefully it survives. If not, we have a couple extra pieces of this that we can try. And let's see if it can pick up 88 pounds worth of bucket. I don't think there's gonna be any issue at all unless the crimps slip. That's my theory, but let's find out. Okay, so with the string on, it's showing it weighs 74 pounds, which is actually interesting because I thought it weighed 75 pounds. So 74 pounds with this. Very, very cool. It's holding it, no problem, and the crimps appear to be holding. You zoom in on that. Doesn't look like they've slid at all, so good job, Mark, so far. Your rigging looks like it's holding up. Next, we're gonna lower this and we're gonna pick up this. This weighs well over twice as much as that. So it's gonna be really interesting to see if this can hold that. And I've gotten it lifted up probably about 5 inches off the ground now. So let's rig up the 12-inch John Deere digging bucket and see if it can lift that. What do you think, Mark? You think it will? He just gave me a head nod like no problem. Let's find out. And real quick, just to show you the pressure point areas, you see it right there, and that's really it. There's really not much damage to this cable at all. But again, we're only lifting 75 pounds. So now we're gonna be lifting something much heavier. We'll see how much it weighs. Okay, and we forgot to use Mark's own personal rigging material. This is what he goes to, and it's kind of like I said, kind of like a paracord material, but not quite. It's more of a braided material than typical paracord. But it's going to be interesting. He's got it all knotted up the way he knots it up whenever he rigs it, and we're going to see if Mark's homemade leader using rope, and he really brags about this stuff. So he's nodding over there right now. So we're going to see if his leader can hold 75 pounds worth of a front digging bucket. He's got an ear-to-ear grin on his face right now, so he's real happy. It's passed the first test. His paracord. Maybe we'll put a link to this stuff. Can you buy it on Amazon? Where can you buy this stuff?
I have no idea. I buy it at the local bait shop.
Oh, he just buys it at the local bait shop, so. All right, it's holding. Now let's move on to this bucket. Okay, we have it hooked up, but it's slack right now. So we're gonna go ahead and turn on the scale so we get the weight of the chains. And this may all be thrown off a little bit once we use the nylon stuff in the string, but it's all zeroed out. We're gonna go ahead and lift this up and see how much it weighs. And there's gonna be some extra weight that it has to lift because the hooks are all slack too. So that's where you're getting your variance, just the weight of lifting this stuff and getting it tight before it actually starts lifting up the bucket. All right, let's lift it up. Okay, so we have it off the ground. 210 pounds. This bucket weighs 210 pounds, maybe a hair less once we get the nylon hooked up, because again, the weight of making all this stuff go tight is adding a little bit to it. But let's lower it back down, get the nylon out, and see if Mark's nylon string can lift this thing up. Okay, so we've looped the nylon around the same way we did with the first bucket, and the reason why I'm not putting it through these holes right here is because the edge of those holes are kind of sharp, and we're at a much greater likelihood of cutting the line versus it cinching around and holding it. So the weight test here isn't necessarily at the ends. It's going to be at this piece of string and at the pinch point, and also where it actually lashes around the openings on the bucket. So we got it all in place. Let's go ahead and zero out our scale here. I suppose I could just hit the zero out button, but I've been turning it off and on. Okay, scale is all zeroed out. Let's go ahead and lift it up. Okay, so we're not going to get too close just in case this thing's about to fail, but it just shows you it's not a temporary amount of strength it has. It's actually holding up over 200 pounds worth of bucket. What do we have on the scale? 199.5 pounds. Thing's holding up well. Let's try Mark's personal solution and see how well it holds up. Okay, so Mark has his string in place. Scale zeroed out. We looped it through the center here, through that little hole just because it limits the ability for it to chafe against the actual metal and cut. And we know that this bucket weighs 200 pounds. Are you nervous?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's nervous. So let's see if we can lift it. So Mark, I gotta be honest with you, I don't even think I saw the bucket move. It moved a little bit, just a tiny bit. And it broke at the knot, so it didn't break down here. It broke, and it broke. It didn't actually like slip loose or any of that because the knot's still up here, and it actually snapped off right there. So my theory, I don't know. This is 200 pounds. The last one was 75 pounds. Maybe half of that. Maybe 100, 125, you think? But, wah, wah, wah. Sorry, man. We have more tests to do, though. So, we know that the nylon string, which is a slightly larger diameter, can lift 200 pounds. Next, we're going to see if we can lift this bucket. So, we're going to decouple this bucket. We're going to hook up this bucket because I have a hook that's been welded on the back of this bucket, and we're going to see the 600 pound rated nylon fishing line can lift up this 400 plus pound bucket. Let's find out. Okay, so we have the 36-inch bucket with butter bar, and that butter bar, all that attachment there probably accounts for an additional 30 pounds worth of weight, but we're going to see how much it weighs. So right now it should be zeroed out. We're gonna go and lift it up and see what the weight is. $418.5 pounds, 418.5 pounds. These things are not light. Hate to have that thing fall on your foot. So yeah, we are gonna see if our line is going to be able to handle that type of weight. Mark, what do you think? Thumbs up or thumbs down? Big thumbs down. So technically, the line is rated to 600 pounds. So if we can find a way to put it through here, maybe we're going to have to go through that same spot on this one right here. We should be able to test this in a fairly accurate way, unless the crimps fail. If the crimps fail and the line slides out or through them, well then we'll have to figure something else out. We might just have to go and double crimp it, but let's see what happens. Okay, so I have the line going through, looped around itself, going over the hook. Still, what do you think? Big thumbs down? Big thumbs down. Okay, I think it'll lift it unless the crimp fails. If it slides out or slips loose, that would be the only scenario that I think it just snaps and breaks. I mean, this is the new piece, so the original piece is right over there because I wanted to make sure we didn't have any with any abrasions or anything on it. So let's see if this piece of fishing line can really hold 400 pounds. I'm just going to round down to 400 pounds because, again, once I tighten up the chains and all that stuff, I'm factoring a little bit of that weight into it. But we're going to see specifically how much this weighs. We've zeroed out the scale. Let's see what happens. Okay, so where did we fail? So it looks like it snapped right here. So this is going to be interesting. So on Mark's leader, it snapped the actual line. So the line snapped right here. This one snapped at a pinch point. And the pinch point is where this essentially looped around and was pulling on itself. So we need to retest this. because it did not snap in a way that really is comprehensive. If it snaps the line itself, so we know that it's testing it more accurately. So right now we need to find a way. At least the crimp didn't pull loose. That's cool, not on either side. So we're gonna grab another piece. We're gonna see if there's a way we can kind of loop this around to where we're gonna be able to relieve this sharp pressure, because I think that tore more than snapped. All right, let's try another piece of line. Was that at a knot? Yeah, that was at one of the knot ends. All right, so we got to kind of figure out how we're going to do this. Okay, so this piece of line was significantly longer. It's got about 40 pounds worth of weight on it now. We wrapped it around several times. We used the hook on the chain to give it more of a gradual curve, as opposed to giving it that sharp curve to where it's kind of snapping at each time. And we're going to see if we can lift it with this. I have my doubts now, but maybe we can. Okay, so where did we break off this time? The crimp broke loose. Yeah, it pulled out. But it actually kind of tore the crimp apart, to be honest. Okay, so Mark, in defense of his fishing line here, came back and said, this is gonna move it. This is gonna lift it. And we're gonna find out if that's the truth. So what we're gonna do is go back to his line. We're gonna watch the scale and see at what point it actually snaps. If it snaps, you know, who knows? The piece of string he pulled this time might be super string, so let's find out. So yeah, I think it failed around 100 pounds. Yeah, this is it's a pretty interesting test. It's just something we decided to do to have some fun. But what do you guys think? So I want to do this with more stuff. If you guys have any ideas of things that I could stress test using a mini excavator and a scale, or a series of scales, please let me know. And I might go out and buy some materials. If you have things on Amazon that you suggest, let me know as well, because I am not opposed to ordering me some Amazon stuff and then attempting to test it out. Anyways, guys, I sure hope you enjoyed the video. If you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, and yeah, we'll be back to talk to you again very soon at BTBRV Life.